Hi, I'm Ryan Szymanski, curator for Battleship New Jersey Museum and Memorial. Today, the curatorial department from the Battleship has been invited to Battleship Cove in Fall River, Massachusetts, where they've got a huge collection of World War II and Cold War era ships and aircraft. Today we're on the destroyer USS Joseph P. Kennedy, a Gearing-class destroyer built at the end of World War II, but frammed, modernized for the mid-Cold War. She was specialized for anti-submarine warfare, and she carries some of the ASW equipment that is still in use with the Navy today, albeit in slightly more modern forms. This video is best paired with the video in the description below that we previously shot on board the destroyer escort USS Slater, which shows all of the World War II era anti-submarine equipment. This is the next evolution of that. And how fitting that we're filming this with the American submarine Lionfish in the background. She's a World War II era diesel-electric submarine, just one generation behind the types of Soviet-built submarines that Kennedy was designed to operate against. So, if you are interested in seeing these Cold Warriors and the types of weapons they had and how they could compare to each other, be sure to take a trip to Fall River, Massachusetts. Sonar technology improved drastically during and immediately after World War II. The ubiquity of German U-boats led the various Allied nations to advance their technology tremendously. And then in the post-war years, much of that technology, the U-boat technology, was disseminated between the Soviets and the Western Allies, and that only sparked a continuation of the growth of anti-submarine technology. Sonar's detection range increased significantly, and so they decided to come up with weapon systems that could engage enemy submarines at greater ranges. One of the earliest solutions was the torpedoes. Joseph P. Kennedy was originally built in World War II to carry torpedoes, 10 21-inch torpedoes for anti-shipping. When she was frammed, those were removed and replaced with another type of torpedo we'll show you later. And then the forward 5-inch gun mount was also deleted. It wasn't needed for anti-aircraft. It wasn't very good at that anymore. It wasn't needed for anti-ship. Missiles were mostly replacing that. And so her primary mission of anti-submarine work, they put these torpedo tubes here. And there's actually two triple launchers, 12.75 inches, so significantly smaller than earlier torpedoes. There's one port and starboard, and they're in trainable mouths, so they can turn off the side and launch. It just takes a compressed air slug from the same air compressors that run the ship's needle guns that you use to chip rust. The air slug launches the torpedo, and the torpedoes have a couple of different ways they can home in on enemy submarines, depending on their which type of torpedo it is. Some of them are acoustic, which means that a diesel submarine like Lionfish, if she goes completely silent, might be able to avoid. However, if she's running away and her propellers are cavitating, this torpedo can go right down her stern and get her. There's another version that has their own sonar on it so that it can send out a ping to detect the enemy submarine and then trace down on that ping. New Jersey, of course, never carried any anti-submarine equipment. She was completely beholden to the destroyers and frigates of her escort group to protect her against enemy submarines. Kennedy could have been one of those ships. We are currently in the sonar shack just aft of the Combat Information Center on Kennedy. And this is where sonarmen would be sending out pings and listening for returns from Russian submarines. That's the console we have here. And right behind us in the next room is the console that controls the ASROC anti-submarine rocket, which is a torpedo launcher that can be fired at submarines 5 miles away. As the range at which we could detect submarines increased, so too did the range at which destroyers could engage submarines. The anti-submarine torpedoes have about the same range as the anti-ship torpedoes that the submarine you're firing at had. While submarines can go completely quiet, surface ships are much easier to detect. And so while that weapon system is effective and is still carried by modern classes of ships today, including Arleigh Burke destroyers and Ticonderoga class cruisers, it's not the best way to engage a submarine at a distance. This structure up here behind me, which is roughly in the place where torpedo tubes would have been in this ship's original as-built configuration, is called an ASROC, an Anti-Submarine Rocket. The ASROC is basically an anti-submarine torpedo with a booster rocket on the end, and this thing can slew around, elevate, and fire a torpedo in the direction of the target submarine. The torpedo has a parachute that deploys midair. It drops down into the water, and then its own guidance takes over and it hunts down the torpedo. So this is the best way of engaging a target at range. It also shows how the threats changed during the Cold War. Destroyers originally carried their 21-inch torpedoes in case they ran afoul of battleships, cruisers, or other larger warships. That was their great equalizer. By the Cold War, those sorts of ships had gone by the wayside, and destroyers were purely worried about the submarine threats that the Soviet bloc had. This weapon system is still in use on Navy ships today, by which I don't mean the ASROC launcher. You won't see these on modern US Navy ships. However, the ASROC itself can be deployed from a vertical launch tube like all of our ships have. So our various surface combatants carry these in addition to anti-air and anti-surface missiles in their vertical launch tubes. Thanks for watching. Have you ever visited any museum ships that had anti-submarine capability? Let us know which ones in the description down below. Battleship Cove was gracious enough to let us come on board and film content here. If you guys would like to support Battleship Cove in any way, we've dropped some links in the description to their YouTube, their Facebook, and their website. If you live close enough to volunteer, they have an extremely active and young volunteer force. If you don't, but would like to support them monetarily, there are ways to donate to support the projects they're doing. Battleship New Jersey receives operating support from the New Jersey Department of State, and also from viewers like you. Thank you for your support. And remember, if you're just joining us on this channel, we post new content several times a week, and if you'd like to get notifications of when we're doing that, remember to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching.